Shabbat Shalom and Chodesh Tov. It's Friday again, and this time it's Parashat Korach. First of all, Baruch Hashem, I finished my stint in Miluim, and very happy to be back at home. And I think that, to a certain degree, the whole Jewish nation is breathing a sigh of relief this Shabbat. In many ways, this is a Motzei war. It is we've finished the war, Baruch Hashem. It's been intense. 12 days of very intense, stress, and especially here in Israel. And Baruch Hashem, it's now mostly behind us, and we're able to continue again. Obviously, there's still war, there's still hostages, there's still fighting in Gaza, but Baruch Hashem, we've lowered the levels of stress, and we are able to focus back again into what they like to call in Hebrew shigra. Shigra just means routine. And Baruch Hashem, the Parsha is a very good symbol of this routine because it happens every year, and each year we're able to return to the same classic stories, the same classic ideas, but each time match them with what we're going through in our day-to-day lives. In our Parasha, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the elephant in the room, Korach. Korach literally is in the name of the Parsha. The story of Korach is one of the head honchos of the tribe of Levi, leads a coup, basically a political rebellion against the leadership, Moshe and Aharon, and he brings together a whole coalition of angry, you could say, conspirators against Moshe and Aaron. We're going to try and analyze exactly what happens in this story. The end of the story is actually quite famous. Korach ends up being swallowed into the ground. Datan and Aviram likewise. And the 250 other co-conspirators get burnt up in the Mishkan. And it basically, God intervenes on Moshe's behalf. And at the very end, we even have Aharon and his staff sprouting fruit and flowers, basically showing that this is the choice of God and everyone can go back to normal. But before we end the story, let's actually go back to the very beginning and try and analyze what is actually going on. Let's read the psukim and maybe that will help us understand. Vayikach Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kehat ben Levi. Korach, the very first conspirator here, the leader, the ringleader. Korach is called Ben Yitzhar, Ben Kehat, Ben Levi. We go all the way back with his genealogy, all the way back to Levi himself, the son of Yaakov. V'Datan v'Aviram bnei Oholiav, and we also have Datan and Aviram from the house of Oholiav, who, according to tradition, they are from Bnei Reuven. Ve'on ben Pelet, Bnei Reuven. And indeed, we also have On ben Pelet. These three, together with Korach, are the four main conspirators against Moshe Rabbeinu. Ve'yakumu lifnei Moshe. Ve'anashim b'nei Yisrael 50 and together with them, they brought 250 co-conspirators, Nesi'ei Aida Kre'ei Moed Anshei Shem, who were politicians, who were leaders, who are important people, and they all gather and challenge Moshe Rabbeinu. Vayika'alu al Moshe v'al Aaron vayomru alehem, Rav lachem. You guys have taken too much. For truly, all of the Jewish people are holy. Everyone is a Jew. Everyone has a connection with God. B'tocham Hashem, God dwells among all of us. Why are you taking positions of leadership? Seemingly, there should be no hierarchy. We are all equal. And why are you lording it over the Jewish people? Vayishma Moshe vayipol al panav, and Moshe Rabbeinu's immediate response is basically panic, and you could maybe argue despair. Moshe Rabbeinu has been dealing with very, very stubborn people, Am Kshe Oref, as they're described, as stiff-necked people. They are a stubborn nation that have caused a lot of trouble, as we say every Kabbalat Shabbat. 40 shana akut bedor. God has been fighting this generation for 40 years. Moshe Rabbeinu has had plenty of trouble even before they left Egypt. And Vaydaber el Korach v'kol adato lemor, and he tries to respond, says, Boker vayvada Adonai et asher lo v'et hakadosh v'yikrev elav. In the morning, God will indeed announce who He chooses. V'et asher yivchar bo yakrev elav, and whoever He chooses, this is who indeed will be the chosen people. Zot asu k'chu lachem machtot, Korach v'chol adato. Take, this is the test, the famous test. You will bring special incense in these kind of pans that will bring to the Mishkan, and whoever God appears with fire, as we saw in the Mishkan, the very beginning, they will be the chosen ones. Right? So this battle of Rav Lachem, Rav Lachem b'nei Levi, and this battle back and forth in many ways is can be slightly confusing, because indeed in the next pasuk, Vayom Moshe el Korach Shimuna b'nei Levi, and now he addresses Korach. Wait, who was he addressing before? He was addressing the whole crew. He was addressing Korach. Hama'ad lachem kivdi Elohei Yisrael etchem me'adat Yisrael akrim etchem elav la'avod et avodat Mishkan Adonai la'amod ifnei ha'edah l'shartam. Is it not enough that God chose you already, Korach? You've already been chosen. You're a Levi. You've got a higher hierarchical state than everyone else. Why are you causing trouble? You want to be a Cohen as well? You're not enough for you to be a Levi? And then then Moshe starts addressing Datan v'Aviram. And they say, we're not coming and we don't want to do this. If you read the parasha just through the psukim, sometimes it can be very, very confusing. And I think the purpose of the Torah, purposefully describing the narrative in this way, with three different answers of Moshe Rabbeinu to three different camps, really teaches us of the very nature of what's going on here. This is very true of human nature. There are always multiple dimensions to every conflict. There are always multiple narratives, sometimes even contradicting narratives, that are bouncing around whenever there is a moment of political strife or argumentation. Moshe Rabbeinu is facing one major coup, basically people saying, enough. We want regime change. But why is very, 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 very different from the three different main camps that we have here. In essence, there are three main political factions of this coup against Moshe Rabbeinu. There's the ringleader, Korach, who is actually challenging Aaron for the position of being the head priest, the Kohen HaGadol. Korach actually is not interested in, democracy of everyone being holy. He's just using that to try and shoehorn himself into power. It's an argument about, in many ways, an internal Levi argument about the hierarchy of Levi. And Rashi and the Midrashim bring all this idea of, wait, you're the son of the third son, and I'm the son of the fifth son, and how does it work? And hierarchy, and why has he got elected before me? And why has this, this family member has been promoted before me? In many ways, it's a battle within the family. The second battle is a battle with Moshe Rabbeinu and 250 members of the Jewish people who are saying, wait a second, this isn't how it's supposed to be. I thought we were supposed to be some sort of kind of equal nation of not exactly democratic, but everyone is equal before the eyes of God. So why do you have a special relationship with God that we don't have? How come that's fair? For all the Jewish people, V'tocham Hashem, if God dwells in all of us, then wait, why are you going up Har Sinai, not me? Why are you getting Nevuah, not me? So there's this second argument, which is in many ways a religious argument, a theological argument of people that actually want to be closer to God and are trying to understand exactly how the system works. And the third argument is in many ways the Datan and Aviram's, and Chazal beautifully placed Datan and Aviram many different points in Moshe Rabbeinu's life as the antithesis to Moshe Rabbeinu. These are the anarchists. These are the people that basically are just thumbing their noses at hierarchy, at authority, and saying, stuff you, burn the system down, burn it all down. I'm not happy about this. And they are the ones that lie. It's beautiful how they describe, beautiful but horrific, as they describe their opposition to Moshe. You've taken us out of the land of milk and honey, i.e. Egypt. That was the promised land, and now you're taking us to die in the desert. And now you're trying to cause trouble. So they are counterfactually making the exact argument. Slavery was awesome. Freedom is terrible. These are the people that are basically trying to collapse everything down. Chazal obviously connect them back with the people who tried to rat out Moshe Rabbeinu, to destroy Yetziat Mitzrayim from within at the very beginning. So Moshe Rabbeinu is dealing with all three of these different factions, and he's trying very hard to address each and every one of these different factions and try and understand. Indeed, he is trying to address each one of these needs. And let's just give a second to understand each and every one of them. Korach is coming out of ego. That is one major element of political strife. Why is it you and not me? Why are you prime minister? I should be prime minister. I want to be in charge. Why are you in charge? Why was I not chosen for the primary? Why were you chosen for the primary? There's a very strong personal vendetta element here. Another element is an actual theological political discussion, which is saying, wait a second, how does this Jewish people even work? And notice that the 250 people were not actually killed in the same way that Korach was killed. They had to face the music. You want to try and get closer to God? Well, go the same route Nadav and Avihu tried and see if you have the same results. And unfortunately, they did. And the third element is the element of Datan and Aviram. Datan and Aviram, Moshe Rabbeinu gets very angry with. And they, in essence, are really the ones who are swallowed up first by the ground. These are the people who have no future. All they want is to bring everything crashing down, and the way that to deal with them is to indeed put them 6 feet under. They need to be swallowed. They need to be disappeared from the social fabric. These are not positive voices. And it's very important, I feel, now that we're returning back to normality, we're returning back to regular politics, that there's always three elements to every big philosophical and political discussion. There is the 250 people who are really, actually, there's a solid argument here. There's a solid claim. You can't just treat them all like Nadav and Avihu. And you can't just say, oh, it's all out of personal reasons. It's all trying to stay in power or not stay in power or get into power. You can't. No, there has to be a discussion. And indeed, the Chassidut really delves deep into these ideas and say, maybe there's actually a really good grain of truth there. It just wasn't ready for that yet. But there is a truth there that needs to be understood. Kedoshim to you, the Jewish people are all holy. How do we understand that in the world that we exist in? Then there's the politicians that are, in essence, out there for themselves. But even then, Korach himself will sometimes use both arguments. It's not exactly clear if he's purely personal or purely political or purely philosophical. It can be itself mixed in. And then there's Nadav and Avihu. Now, Nadav and Avihu also have a point. They are also struggling. There are some things, there's always criticism that you can bring to Moshe Rabbeinu. There's a whole generation that's dying in the desert because of the Meraglim. Whose fault was that? Was it Moshe's fault? Was it their fault? Indeed. But nonetheless, they are like kind of the anarchists, the scavengers who just want to tear everything down and destroy it. So when we open the news and we read about whatever discussion, strife, political back and forth that there is, I feel like we always have to listen out for these three voices: the personal, the philosophical, and the I would say the angry or the destructive voice, and try and see which of those three are we going to magnify and are we going to address and going to give separate treatment to, as Moshe Rabbeinu does, and which of the others are we going to try and push aside and say, hey, you guys aren't l'shem shamayim, as they say. This is not machloket Korach v'adato. This is Korach v'adato, but not machloket l'shem shamayim, as the Mishnah purposefully puts those two at odds. This is not a actually positive, helpful discussion. This is just anger, just destruction. So now that we've returned to normality, I wish you all, Be'ezrat Hashem, a peaceful week. Aseh shalom v'ulmav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Shabbat shalom.